What is the worst thing someone has told you that you did not want to know? My mom told me that I didn't need to be insecure about the size of my breasts because my dad told her more than a mouthful is a waste. My dad said the same thing, then told me the story of my conception. He's not allowed to have whiskey during his next visit. My birthday is in a couple of days, which, as my mum graciously informed me, means that I was conceived around Christmas time. Her exact words were, "I was at a Christmas party and didn't wrap your dad's present." I'm sorry, but that's hilarious. One of my former college roommates was a little gay Mexican kid, and I mean all of that literally. He was pretty flamboyant and I've overheard him tell his friends about his sexual fantasies. That's all I really knew about him. We didn't talk much, except he said, "I should be back soon," every time he left the house. I was watching a movie late at night. He comes downstairs and says, "I should be back soon," and leaves. About an hour later he barges through the door, weeping and sobbing uncontrollably. It looked like he got beat up and pushed on the ground and covered in mud. He stands in the doorway just crying and barely breathing and then runs to the bathroom. I hear him cry in the shower for about 20 minutes. He finally comes out and starts the first conversation he's ever had with me. I met this guy online, and I went to go hook up with him in his truck. WHWH when he was freaking me in the butt. I pooped all over HIMMMM sob sniffle. I honestly didn't know what to do, so said what I normally say when people tell me about bad things that happen to them. "Wow, that's really crappy." He laughed a lot and went to bed. That was the first and only conversation we've ever had. Covered in mud. Guessing that wasn't mud. For me, I hate when my friends tell me the negative things they heard other people say about me. I wish I could say I just didn't care, but I tend to overthink things and let them affect me more than they should. They are not your friends. Move on to bigger and better things. You're better than that crap. My dad treated me horribly when I was growing up, which included physically abusing me. I'm an adult now and we haven't talked in about 7 years. My older sister recently told me that he treated me differently because he always thought that I wasn't biologically his kid. Thanks, sis. Sometimes that's just the answer one needs. It would help me move on and away. All the times that my hot friend has been sexually assaulted since she was 12. We were expressing jealousy of how lucky she was with the genetic lottery and how nice life must be for a beautiful girl. She decided to shut us the heck up with some choice bad memories. I sometimes wonder if I would rather never have heard about my ex's rape. She was 9 when it happened and I know both of the guys involved. One of them actually graduated with me. She's still my best friend even since we broke up, but every time I look at her, I can't help but to feel a little bit sad. One time my grandma mentioned to me that she wishes she could sit on Elvis Presley's face. I'm her 21-year-old grandson. Tell your grandma I'm an Elvis impersonator. That my mom tried to put me up for adoption, but my dad forced her to keep me. Thanks, mom. I really needed to know that. And in the car before being dropped off at work on Black Friday was totally the best time to tell me. Maybe that was her way of saying thanks for pulling me away from my Thanksgiving evening to drive your butt to work. My good friend's girlfriend at the time called me to tell me that her boyfriend had confessed to fricking my girlfriend. She used to wait for me at his house all the time when I got out of work. To think they were probably just through banging when I used to go over to have a beer. They were neighbors. I used to think, man, I am so lucky my girl and my best bud are such good friends. We used to go on double dates and crap all the time. Life is hilarious sometimes. I don't think that word means what you think it does. I worked in tech support. Halfway through telling me about what her problem was, a customer mentioned in passing she had had a miscarriage the night before. I asked her to clarify what she said and she bypassed that and repeated her issue printing. That the night I was conceived I was almost swallowed instead, while at a restaurant, eating dinner with my girlfriend before homecoming about 5 years ago. My mother is a cruel person. I had completely forgotten that night until a few weeks ago when a friend mentioned someone he hated should have been swallowed. Now it won't get out of my head. She's also told me that my father can hide a beer bottle behind his erect dong. For the love of God, mom, stop sharing crap with me. One of my closer friends whom I'd known for quite a few years started getting involved with the fetish community and going through some self-discovery. I'm fine with the broad strokes, but it was way too much when she told me the only thing that kept her from wanting to kill people for pleasure was the threat of being sent to prison and separated from her boyfriend. It's pretty unsettling to hear that the fetish doesn't end at fantasy, even if she's sane enough to not act on it. It's also upsetting because I absolutely believed her when she said it, but she's also incredibly kind at times. I dunno. It's one of those things that makes you question how good people really are. If things get weirder, or start to scare you at all, please don't hesitate to tell someone. Being that open about something so personal could be their way of crying for help. I'm a receptionist at a surgeon's office. Every day I work I have someone telling me something about their stomach, butthole, bowel movements, infection, cyst, or moles that I really don't need or want to know. I'm taking your information at the window, I'm not the dang doctor. Well, today my mom told me that when my dad pees, he pulls his junk through the leg of his underwear. Cool, didn't need that image. Thanks. At our 20 years school, German pendant to high school, reunion, a girl that I had a huge crush on as a teen told me that she thought I was a cool guy back then and that she wouldn't have minded advances from me. Back then I was extremely shy towards girls and was convinced she wouldn't see me at all and that she was way out of my league anyway. Now it bothered me for weeks to know that I might have had a chance and never tried, not even once. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That my mom wasn't too keen on having sex with my dad because he never wanted to try anything new. Less not wanting to know about my parents' sex life, more bummed out that it was apparently boring. Poor mom. My friend's large mom started telling us details about her sex life when we were 16. She was in her 40s, very big, and loved to tell us her pee is gold. Sometimes people posting on Reddit are straight women. I have no interest in finding out. It's funny how much people assume. A few years ago my mother decided it was a good idea to tell me that my father could hide a Corona bottle behind his erect dong. Mom. No, stop. I made the mistake of telling my friend and that crap spread like wildfire around the high school. I used to have a babysitting job watching a newborn for this family while the other kids were in school and the parents were in work. The rest of their kids were ages 9-14, so everyone knew this baby was an accident. This one morning I walk into the house and she's bouncing him in his little bouncer, says hi to me and then starts talking in baby talk to him. But instead of normal "oh you're so cute" baby talk, she starts saying, "Mommy had her tubes tied before you came along, and daddy thought it was okay to come in mommy and that's how you came to be," and then she continued to tell me how much she bled after and she thought she was still getting her period. Weirdest family ever. She was probably trying to make a dry joke. That the house I spent much time in growing up was the house where my father took his life. It was my grandmother's house and she used to watch me quite a bit while my mother worked. I only discovered this a month or so ago. My old friend that I really can't stand anymore is cheating on her boyfriend with a 26-year-old. She's 17 and her boyfriend is really nice guy. I don't talk to her anymore. A good friend of mine had sex with his cousin. They didn't tell their parents about it. In a month or two, when the girl's boyfriend came back from overseas, he started noticing something weird with her and made her do a pregnancy test. Turns out she's pregnant. Clearly, it was not with his baby. They broke up. A month later, my friend and the cousin decided to abort the baby when their parents started sensing something weird as well. We live in a country where abortion is legal when you're of age. The parents still don't know about their affair. That is, until they found the pregnancy test in the trash can. This is where crap hits the fan for them. The girl made up a lie about his boyfriend raping her, then breaking up with her and leaving her and the baby behind. Tears were shed over the loss of the baby. The parents believed it and called the boy's parents to question them. During this call, they found out the boy has killed himself overdosing in the basement, and the police reported that it was an attempted suicide. After hearing the news, my good friend felt quite guilty and shut himself out of the world, including me and my boys, for 2 months. When I saw him again, he gained a few pounds of belly, and his hair is clearly unkempt. He told me this story. But the thing is, after a year since this incident, my friend is still currently having sex with the cousin on a regular basis, probably with protection now. During this call, they found out the boy has killed himself overdosing in the basement, and the police reported that it was an attempted suicide. I'd actually call that a successful suicide. My BF told me the other night he's attracted to other women and doesn't trust himself to not act on it. He followed it up with, "But you're the one I want to come home to, I'm in love with, and want to grow old with." I have no idea WTF to think, and honestly would rather not have heard. My mind is kind of a disaster zone lately. When I was a freshman in high school, I started dating this chick without really knowing her. A few weeks in, I somehow found out she gave some guy a BJ. It didn't really bug me all that much, but for whatever reason it bugged her to no end, and she would always bring up how bad she felt about it whenever we spent time together. After about a month, I couldn't handle it anymore and broke up with her. Fast forward to my second semester of junior year, and I get a random text from her, and the conversation went something like this. Her: "Hey, bundle. How are you?" Me: "Hey, I'm doing alright. How are you?" Her: "Great. I just had sex for the first time. It hurt a little but felt great in the end." That was as far as the conversation went. I don't know why she sent this to me, and I haven't heard from her since. I was never jealous because I was remaining abstinent and she knew that, so I don't know what her goal was with telling me that, but whatever, I guess. I don't know what her goal was with telling me that. She wanted your D. The use of fake CM in most P. Instead of the girl being graciously glazed with actual spludge, I've heard it's usually a mixture of hand soap, sugar water, and other non-cummy things. And yeah, that's a bit of a boner killer when it's not organic. I heard that they used Cetaphil. I've always used that stuff to wash my face, and now I can't help but remind myself how spammy it is all the time. Not what I was told, but discovered with a Facebook newsfeed notification. My dad commented on a picture of him kissing a woman that is not his wife. Yes, on top of everything, it didn't occur to my dad that his friends list would see when he posts on public photos the W posts. When my ex was trying to win me back, he said he'd finally gotten over my stretch marks and was okay with them now. I knew at that moment I could never be naked in front of him ever again. My best friend had sex with my sister in the back of my new car. I wouldn't care much, but I haven't even had sex there yet, or anywhere. My dad told me that when he and my mom met, he was trying to go for her friend, but my mom was into him and he just sort of gave in to her persistence in dating, thus having a relationship, getting married, and having 2 daughters. She passed away from cancer in 1998 when I was 6 years old. He's told me he would still go for the friend over my mom. Illegal crap that I'm not going to post. Please, everyone, if you do something wrong, keep it to yourself. I rarely lie. When I do, it's small and usually to protect someone's feelings or to stop a bad situation from getting worse. I don't want to be confronted by the cops or people you wronged asking me questions that I have the answer to. Professional dominatrix friend, so that's when I pulled my panties back up, and Jack was just there with a steaming pile of my crap right on his chest, and me: "Why are you telling me this? Who's Jack? Wait, I don't want to know. PDF. Nicholson. Anyway, because you guys were talking about work and I didn't want to be left out, so I pulled my panties back up, and me: what in the actual frick? We live in Hollywood. She's very well off, freaking gorgeous, and she threw a party for her birthday last year, in her dungeon, and I've seen her pee. Confirmed professional dominatrix. Thank God I finally know what PDF stands for." Had a few involving my family. Fellow Cub Scout told me about the hit and run my drunk father committed against this kid's father, and then got my mom to tell the cops she was driving. He told me in front of the troop. First I heard of it. Heard about my dad's cheating on my mom from the neighborhood kids. Had a classmate tell me my cousin would blow him for drugs. Sorry I couldn't pick just one. That my grandmother did not enjoy having anal sex with my grandfather because he was, apparently, so well hung it hurt no matter what, and she just didn't find it enjoyable. She did it anyway though, because she loved him so much. That half of men wipe standing up. I didn't need to know that and I just assumed everyone did it sitting down. Now I think of it like those creme egg adverts, how do you wipe yours? Used to be a stand-up guy, now I stay seated. Took a little getting used to, but I'm happy with my decision. Thanks for listening. While introducing my ex-girlfriend, named Caitlin or Kate for short, to my mother somehow brings my dead sister Katie up in conversation. I suggest that talking about dead people isn't the best thing to do when making a first impression. She says something to the effect of, you would not have been born if your sister hadn't died. This had been a long time personal demon of mine that I was just then starting to get over. My entire life I've been told how perfect and great Katie would have been and how much they loved Katie and how proud they would have been of her. All the implications that I was nothing but a letdown in comparison. How I needed to live up to the standards they set for a dead baby. I was finally getting some sense of self-worth. Finally finding value in thing I do. Finally feeling good enough. I only ever wanted to make my parents proud of me, but they never have been. I'm a replacement, a runner-up prize, and I always will be. There aren't enough internet hugs for this. This is some crap no kid should have to deal with. Of his abusive, alcoholic father, and his mother, who was, and is still in love with him. Every time I see him it seems he can't help but bring it up and I can't stand it. Otherwise, he is an excellent student, and proud to the point of egocentrism. In every conversation, if it's not about home problems it is about him, and all his accomplishments. This may be a self-protective technique, but I can't help but try to avoid him. Maybe I am a terrible friend for this, but every time I see him, I want to escape. My aunt went into graphic detail about my father's state of decay while explaining why the funeral was closed casket. Thanks, but I had already been told he had been dead a week. I got it. Stop, staff. Haven't told this story in a while, so I went to a few different high schools and I wasn't the best student, to say the least. I went to this one shithole school in the country for a while. Had the lowest results of every school in the state for that year. Anyways, there was this cute country girl there named Roxy. Bogan name I know, but she was cool. She read Johnny Vasquez comics and loved Daria. I had a bit of a crush. So anyways, I leave that school after a few years, never having the balls to ask her out. I moved back to the city and never looked back. Anyways, a few years ago, a good 6 years out of high school, I am going through my old school books. I opened my diary from that school. I haven't opened it since I left, and a note fell out. It was one of those girly notes that you have to pull open, folded in that intricate way only teenage girls are capable of, so I open it up and it's a love letter from Roxy, telling me she's had a crush on me since I transferred to that school and giving me her phone number telling me to call her. She must have slipped it into my diary sometime before I left, but I never looked in the thing. Just carried it around because we were supposed to. Anyways, I sat on my floor reading it, then I fell backwards and slapped my palm to my forehead. If only I was a more organized student I might have got me a piece of Roxy. Sigh. I found out that Chinese foot binding and genital mutilation exist a bit too early for my taste. P.S. I just used the Oxford comma for the first time in my life. You're supposed to use it in lists of 3 or more items. 2 items never get a comma if they are joined by an and. My mom got laser eye surgery a few years ago to get rid of cataracts and her sight's never been better. That said, she thought it would be a great idea to describe, in detail, what the experience was like and how it felt, and nope. Any surgery injury dealing with eyes makes me super squeamish. Broke one of the worst commandments of bro code. Slept with my best friend's girl. Owned up to it and got iced out by everyone in my social circle. Only to find out that in the previous year a lot of them had tried to hook up my ex while we were dating and had been shot down. My on and off boyfriend told me that the girl he was cheating on me with has big boobs. He loves big boobs on women, and I'm rather small. Horror. Feelings of inadequacy. I'd recommend making him your permanently off boyfriend on account of him being a big tit. I once had a roommate tell me about how she masturbates on long car rides with her family, mom, dad, little brother, by throwing a coat over herself so she could fulfill the urge, as she put it. She also chose to inform me that she would masturbate while I was in the room, in the middle of the day, just to see if I would notice. That on Monday night my grandfather passed away. The man was a hero. He stepped up and filled the role of father and grandfather. As long as his memories are strong within me, the world will be a better place. Probably not the worst thing I've ever heard, but definitely the worst timing. My so and I were having fun times in bed, and, being pregnant, my boobs had doubled in size. I tell my so to titty frick me. He goes to do it, then proceeds to tell me about the other time he titty fricked a girl. His ex. I am not going to have sex with you when you just told me about titty fricking your ex. My then housemate told me that she'd had sex with her boyfriend on the sofa I was sitting on. In the meantime, my own boyfriend was not even allowed in the living room. My uncle has told me a bunch of inappropriate stories, including my grandma once bought a butt plug when she thought it was a dildo because my grandpa apparently has a micro dong. That my brother once played with an unwashed dildo, and that my grandma remembers the day my mom was conceived because that's the only time she had an orgasm. My uncle knows a little too much about my grandma's sex life. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.